author of Mott Street, which is forthcoming from Penguin Press in the spring of next year. I'm so thrilled to be here in conversation with these fantastic filmmakers. And also we have JT, who is also going to be reading a statement from Christine Choi. But I just want to, get started. I'm going to read your bios, just so that we get started that way. I was going to read Christine's, however, I think I'll just truncate it. As the co-founder of Third World Newsreel, and during her tenure, she directed documentary films on the 1971 Attica prison uprising, the life of incarcerated women in the US, and the history of social activism in New York's Chinatown, as we saw. Then next to me, we have Curtis Chen, who is a graduate of the Creative Writing Program at the University of Michigan, who's received awards from ABC, Disney Television, AAIFF, and National Endowment for the Arts, amongst others. His film, Vincent Hu and Tested, have been screened in 16 countries. He's also a co-founder of the Asian American Writers Workshop. And his memoir, Everything I Learned in a Chinese Restaurant, is forthcoming from Little Brown in fall of next year. And then to his left, we have Patrick Chen, a filmmaker from Queens whose works typically draw from the lives of Asian Americans. He's studied writing and film at Hunter College, and his films have been accepted and screens at various film festivals, including CanFest, LAMP, just say AAIFF, sorry, and Asian Cinevision, and has been featured in Xfinity, Mocha, and Cinevision. That's Patrick Chen. Welcome to each of you. What I wanted to do first was actually to address the work of the first documentary that we saw. I have to say that this documentary really stayed with me. It struck me, there were so many things about this film that stood out, from the raw edge filmmaking that added this visceral feeling from the many pressures upon so many lives in Chinatown, and the community and all of its permutation. The film addresses systemic inequities and highlights the various groups and tensions within the community. That scene where we have the old guard wanting to keep the status quo, and the young artist activists agitating for change and providing platforms for the community to speak out, is so incredibly relevant, and it's happening in Chinatown today, as we know. And it was just, that scene I thought was particularly riveting. And one of the questions that I had, and you can tell me, JT, if you can address this, do you remember what some of the biggest challenges of working on that documentary were, dealing with all the layers and subsets of Chinatown in the 1970s?
First I have to say, I didn't work on that.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
But I know they had a hard time. It was also one of the first films Chris Choi made, and as you notice, it was one of the funders was New York State Council of the Arts. It was the first year the NISCA was giving out grants, and they got, apparently Third World Newsreel got something like $10,000 to make. They proposed they would make 4 documentaries, and they did, and this was one of them. So yeah, it's kind of amazing. But what Chris wanted to say is that she was dying to be here, frankly. And she called from the hospital saying she was going to try to make it here, but she'll be all right. But they just wanted to keep her a few more days, because she was part of the grouping of people who formed ACB back in '75. And she was very proud of that. And I hope some of you noticed Soy Hart, who was part of that production, who was like the assistant director. and he was one of the people also who helped to help create ACB. And he was critical to the production because Chris doesn't really speak Cantonese. So people like him had to help her out and get her around the community and things like that. And in fact, he stayed in contact with her, still in contact with her, and is using this film as like one of the extra features on his DVDs through the Criterion Collection. But it was hard, but some of the people in the audience will recognize she and a lot of people knew the activists in that film, so it wasn't that hard to get in touch because Fei Chang and people like that were all around with everyone, and so it was easier to get by them than with CCBA type people. So
Yeah. Do you recall what the reception was to the film at the time, both from within the community as well as out? And I'm really curious if MB Lee ever responded, given the fact that he made it so well known that they were providing the space, but it wasn't him that called the meeting, right?
No, I don't know what his reaction was.
Maybe Taiwan knows.
Yeah, maybe actually a third of this audience may know.
Well, there's going to be time for Q&A afterwards, and we're going to open it up to all of you. So have those questions handy.
The only other thing, one thing Chris wanted to make sure everybody knew, she feels that there's a billion stories still to tell in Chinatown now. And going back, not only currently, but that there's still people who can remember the past and who are from the past. And if anyone is interested in doing work around that, to contact her. So she wanted all of you to know that. It's too long to read, but she lists everything that she remembers of Grandpa's Bar across from ACB. Pearl River was there, China books, and periodicals, all this kind of thing. So she has a lot of memories, and if anyone wanted to participate in doing something like that, she'd be happy. And she's so proud that ACB was able to provide the Asian Americans a platform to express their past, present, and their dream of the future.
Thank you. There is a dialogue that is going on between all of these films that were shown today, which I think is enormously interesting, particularly between, and I'm gonna turn this over to Curtis, particularly between From Spikes to Spindles and Dear Corky. So many of the figures from Spikes to Spindles appear so prominently in Corky's most iconic images. I was so intrigued by the ways in which Christine's documentary and Corky's work centered on social justice and an artist's desire to change, and the ways in which these two films are really talking to each other. As you'll remember, Corky really wanted to give the community a voice through photography, and now Curtis, your short, and the work of others are providing a platform to amplify Corky's voice and vision about the community through film, and you really are bringing it to audiences of all ages and carrying forward his legacy. So it is amazing to see the films. Of course, I want to ask you a question. I know you were originally working on a documentary series that wasn't only about Corky, right? So can you tell us a little bit about your original intentions and how that changed upon Corky's passing last year?
Yeah, hello, John. First, thank you to John, Kayla, and the rest of the ACB staff, volunteers, for putting on such an amazing festival. Thank you for the honor of letting us be part of the closing night. And I also want to recognize a couple of people in the room who were part of our film. Kenneth Ang should be here, DP, and they took a big part in making the film, so I just want to acknowledge them. And supporters who are here. In terms of the film, yeah, we had, our team, we were working on a documentary called Our Chinatown, which looked at gentrification, overcrowdedness and other issues in Chinatowns around the U.S., in particular like the OGs, you know, San Francisco, Boston, New York, and even Detroit, where I'm from. But when COVID happened, we had to shut down production, and with the rise in hate crimes against Asian Americans, it also seemed like the conversation was sort of changing. And we didn't know what we were going to do with the footage. We thought, okay, well, let's just see how this plays out. Like, we thought maybe COVID would be over in like 3 months or 6 months, and we'd start filming again. But, you know, it just sort of kept going on. And then sadly, at some point, we heard the news that Corky was ill, and that then eventually that he passed away. And we thought back to the footage that we had with him, and now, you know, originally when we were interviewing him and following him around on all these visits, you know, a lot of the questions we were asking were more about Chinatown itself, and, you know, more specifically, how the look of Chinatown had been changing, or how the imagery, you know, because that's what we wanted his expertise on. But, you know, luckily we had enough footage of him talking more about his own personal journey, and we were able to put that together into this short. And so, yeah, that's how it sort of came about. We just thought, like, you know, this was Corky's chance to sort of have his say, because, you know, in terms of, you know, talking to him and getting to know him better, one of the things that he oftentimes talked about was just, you know, feeling like he, how should I say this? He wanted to get his stuff really out there more, you know, and we felt like this would hopefully be his chance. And that's why he's the only person that gets to speak in this film, really, right? It's really all his voice, but also all the photographs. Like, we don't have any photographs that other people took of him, but we really just wanted to let his photos and his words sort of speak for himself, to sort of give him, you know, his last words, the last say, as they say.
So what were some of the biggest challenges to creating this short? Beyond the fact that, we have a little bit of time. Beyond the fact that, you know, Corky passed while you were working on it.
Yeah, no, I mean, documentary filmmakers here and all filmmakers in general know it's always difficult, you know, whether it's a short film or a long film. I mean, there's so many challenges to get things done. Just on the production end, the fundraising end, and even post-production, and even to distribution. And we faced a lot of the same problems that all independent filmmakers make. One thing that we did have advantage is that Corky was such a beloved figure, you know, and I think that that's why the film has been so well received. He was such a enormous figure and so generous, and so, yeah. But I would say that, you know, there is a challenge in terms of organizing his photos. That was kind of a challenge. We tried to get as many of his best photos as we could. I don't know if we got all of them. He had such a big collection, and, you know, they're not all in one place at this time. But at some point, hopefully, if they ever do come together, and if other photographs do resurface, you know, we might consider like putting them in. But we're pretty happy with the end product of what we did get. So.
So I'm just curious about where you are now with it. Are you still doing a broader Chinatown Chinatowns of America, or you know, is that on hold?
We do have the footage from these other cities. I don't know if we can pick up with those people and their stories. Maybe we might just have to edit those into what it is, but obviously there's always this issue of funding, right? You know, bringing on people and do post. So I don't really know. We have this right now. We've also been approached by other cities asking us to tell their story too. So, but you know, I'm busy. I've got this book coming out, yes. You know, which deadline is August 22nd. So,
thank you for being here with us.
I'm going home after this to work on it.
Fantastic. So I want to move on to Patrick to address our fictional film that was featured tonight. We are lucky to have you here, but we're also lucky to have Henry Chang in the audience. Henry, why don't you come up and join us? There is a chair. There is a chair right there. as Henry approaches, and then do we have, you'll share the mic with him, thank you, okay. Okay. So watching a father-son really reminds me how interconnected we are. Many in the cast are Chinatown residents or old Chinatown hands, including yourself, Henry. There were so many times watching this, I felt it myself, I'm sure you did also in the audience. You felt like cheering after each of the cameos when Jeff appears in the store. You know, Perry Young as the dad, Chen wearing pants. Right? I've only ever seen him in shorts. So it's wonderful seeing Chinatown not just as a setting, but also as a character featured in Chinese American, Asian American stories. So I'm gonna just address the first question of Patrick. Can you just tell us a little bit about what drew you to the detective Jack Yu's story? And was there something in the books that resonated with you personally or in your own experiences in Chinatown?
I grew up both in Chinatown, Manhattan Chinatown as a kid, and I transitioned to Flushing. But what drew me to the project was there was these posters on every restaurant, like Waha, 69 Bayer, you have the dog, Chinatown. People were like, what is this? Is this a movie? So as I looked closer, his name stuck out. I was like, oh, it's a book, Detective Jack Yu. And I was like, oh, this is actually about a Chinese American detective, a protagonist, which I never seen or heard about. So I was very curious about like what these books are about. And Joe introduced me to the first book, and it kind of dominoed to Mr. Chang here. And I got to meet Henry, we talked about it, and Henry was graciously to give me all the set. There's like 5 books. So what really drew me is just, I never saw something like that before, like an Asian American protagonist as a cop. You know, something positive. There's no martial art, you know, it's typical what we see today, or even a gangster, like even a bad gangster. You know, so I spoke to Henry, like, hey, can we do something together? And I did a film here at ACB like 5 years ago with Jeff. Jeff starred in it. It did pretty well, and Henry saw my work, and he believed in me.
Okay, fantastic. And what were you trying to do in the film experience that was different, or even in some ways similar to the actual book itself? I mean, curious because of course it's an adaptation, but it's its own thing. So I'm just curious about that.
One thing I told my cinematographer, Jason Chu, which he is right there filming with his silver hair. But yeah, I told Jason, like, listen, let's make this short film like a 90s style film that we all grew up. Because, you know, as children, I never saw any Asian American representation in Hollywood. All we saw was like VHS tapes from Hong Kong, from China, from Korea, and you have that embedded subtitles that you can't even read. So basically I say, hey, let's do something like that, because everyone grew up here, like everyone in this audience grew up watching Hong Kong films. So let's take it back and make Jack Yu that way. And also, the book is based in 1993, so it makes sense to make that aesthetic way of Chinatown, and we want to make it authentic as possible. You know, if there's a car like made in 2012, we had to shoot the other way. You know, we were like looking around, scouting, just trying to get everything authentic. Mason, Hockey, and the community all came through. You know, this film was actually funded by the community. If it wasn't for any of you, this film wouldn't have been made. You know, thank you. You know, once the film was made, thanks to your generosity, you know, I really wanted not just professional actors like Ty, Perry, but also like people like Jeff, Joe, who just want to be part of this because they all love Henry. You know, everyone respects Henry. You know, like, you know, we raised like 40, 50 grand, which is kind of unheard of for a short film. But, you know, people were shocked, and from that amount, we saw how much support that people want to see his stories, Detective Jack Yu, come to life for the first time. You know, and everyone was involved in it. Even Corky has a cameo, you know. And it was kind of fun. They, hey, Corky, do you want to be an actor? It's like, yeah, sure, what time? Like,
how was it for you transforming the book into a film? Because you are an executive producer, right, on it. And then also, I should mention, your book is in the giveaway, right? Is that right or no?
Everyone will be getting one.
That's true.
Yeah, I can hear you. So what was it like? What was it like transforming the book into a film by way of being an executive producer and not as a writer?
Well, I haven't had much experience being an executive producer, but I really saw what it took, and we could not have done this film without a caring community, without a great cast and crew. I know nothing about going around to every different location and begging the restaurants and the coffee shops to please let us use your location. And we had Yishin, we had some great people who did all that. And these were people who cared enough to lend us their businesses, their locations, and their time. No money, it's because they cared enough about the message this would send. And that's my whole executive producer thing.
What did it feel like watching the transference from the book narrative onto the big screen?
Oh, it's great. It was a lot of labor. I got really fatigued from it, but it was very rewarding. Very rewarding. We got almost a half-hour short film, for virtually no money, and everybody all the stars we had. Did anybody make any money? No. Thank you.
I mean, can we acknowledge the cast here who are here?
Oh,
Please stand up. Can you
absolutely.
hear the cast? Please stand up, please. Without them, seriously, they've been my right, left-hand people. They were there for me since the get-go, day in, day out. Especially Jason, which I acknowledge, he took the extra hours. But the crew members, they really came in it was the last day of shooting was 20 degrees. We were freezing, but they all powered in and we just pulled through. So please, the crew, if you can stand up.
Thank you. I love the way that all of your work collectively is an homage to the community and the ways in which the community gives back to us artists. So thank you for providing that platform for folks. I think we have time for, how much time do we have for Q&A from audience members? I can't see anything. Come on, maybe a little more. All right, so we do have time for questions. I can't see anybody, so.
Anyone's question? No questions? Then go buy some merch. I'm just joking, but no, seriously, we have some merchandise from the Kickstarter campaign, and half the proceeds will go towards ACB. Because they've been providing the space and volunteers for free. May I have you sign it, or maybe time off sign it?
Who has a question? Okay, I'm coming. Okay, you know what? Just pass it down.
Oh, I can just ask something. Your films were great.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Hey, Patrick.
He's single.
when she filmed at CPC PS20 with my crew there. He was a filmmaker. My question is, when are you making the long version of the movie? Because since we got all the books, we're gonna follow along.
Thank you, Lois. Lois and I met at CPC. And CPC also helped us produce this film. Lois, we're working on it. This was a proof of concept. We want to show people what we can do as a community. You know, next to nothing for no money, and we got stars to back it up. So it's just getting people's interest. I mean, right now it's getting better after, you know, again, Crazy Rich Asian representation is coming up. People want to see diverse stories and AAPI stories. So hopefully one day, you know.
Is that, do we have any other questions? I see a hand over there.
Go ahead, shoot.
Hi, my name is Yvonne Watson Chow. I'm here from Hip Hop Dance Conservatory. I want to say thank you so much for sharing your insight into all the different documentaries. My question is, what would you say, what would be your message to future API creators, filmmakers? Because as you had just said, Patrick, we've got a wide load coming of incoming media, and what's your message and for all of you, whatever it is. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for the question. My snappy thing that I always say is that if you want to pursue a career in the creative fields, you're going to hear a lot of no's, but just make sure that that no isn't coming from your own voice. Like, always give yourself a yes. Always say yes to yourself. You're really
That's a tough one. Honestly, it's just do good work, be positive, and find the people that really support you. I mean, honestly, there are people out there who is just, they'll take and take, but there are some people who are giving, like all of you guys right here. I got a group of good friends and family members helping me, and being this part of this network and this industry. I met a lot of people like Mr. Ty out here. You know, Ty didn't have to do the film. People like Ty Ma, who's really busy, gave his time because he believed in us, and also his colleague, Mr. Wing Lee. Wing made the film. So people like that, they're like our mentors, or especially like our uncles, who try selling you off to a single lady. But yeah, it's just, to answer your question, it's support. Just find a group of people who really want to support you and cheer you on.
I also want to say, especially if you're going to documentary, there are networks like ADOC and things like that. You should join up, and you get to meet a lot of people. It's been virtual the last few years, but they do in-person meetings as well, and the ACB people for that matter. I mean, and basically everyone you encounter, if they made films, you can become their next best friend, like the people of stage, something like that. I mean, that's what it's about, right? Learning to meet people, and also being very honest and true about what your mission is in making a film. And people know that if you're just, I just want to make a film, as opposed to, I want to do something with this film that's going to change, and you can tell from people's films that that is what their intent is, and that's why people supported them. So,
Thank you. I just want to say one thing, and just to close. A number of years ago, I had a conversation with the great writer Iris Chang. And one of the things I was telling Iris about this book that I was working on, which was an early iteration of the one that's coming out. And the thing that she said to me was, Ava, we need more Chinese American stories. So that, first and foremost, and I would think she would also say Asian American stories. So I think that you need to have the work, right, first and foremost. Needing to know what that story is that only you can tell. And by having more of our stories out there, this is going to help everybody, not just us. So I just want to end on that note. I want to also thank all of our panelists who are here for their fabulous work, and also thank the whole organization for this fabulous, because this is the closing night.